Lord. Starting with the loss of inheritance. Introduction. In an accident, Ronin travels to a fantasy world where fighting spirit and magic coexist, becoming the legitimate eldest grandson of the Marquis of Wushan. He was deprived of the right to inherit the title and even faced the risk of being expelled from the family before he had a chance to celebrate having a good pregnancy. Fortunately, the game system planning project designed by Luo Ning in his past life has traveled with him. With the assistance of gameplay systems such as monthly check.in, 7-day login, first.time charging gifts, and achievement experts, he gradually overcame difficulties, built castles, developed the economy, expanded the army, and built his own empire in different worlds. 1. I was stripped of my inheritance right as soon as I crossed over. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In early August, in Wushanling, the scorching sun hung high and baked the earth, making the hot air even distorted. However, Luo Ning wore strict aristocratic attire and walked along a flat road paved with blue stones to the highest point of this estate. Wushan Fortress. More than 10 minutes ago, he was still a game planner who was working overtime all night to write a plan. Unexpectedly, he died suddenly and was reborn in the body of a nobleman's son from another world. He didn't even have time to digest the memories of his predecessor, so he was watched and monitored by the guards as he headed to Wushan Fortress, facing a trial against him. Fortunately, the road was quite long, and it was only then that Luo Ning had time to digest some of his predecessor's memories and clarify his current situation. Originally, this was an extraordinary world with a surface similar to the early Middle Ages on Earth, but in reality, it had fighting spirit and magic. The predecessor he traveled through was named Luo Ning Wushan, who was the eldest grandson of the Wushan Marquis family and had the right to inherit the Marquis' position. But it is this person who grew up in a top aristocratic family, not only did not possess any extraordinary power, but also lingered in banquet dances, indulged in fine wine women, and did not make any achievements. At the banquet the day before yesterday, my predecessor got drunk and got into bed with a woman. No one expected that the woman would commit suicide the next day and even write a suicide letter accusing her predecessor, which instantly made everyone aware. In theory, many nobles have chaotic private lives, and having a relationship with a woman at a banquet is not a big deal. Even if an ordinary woman commits suicide, it's not a big deal. The bad thing is that this woman has a very unusual identity. She is the Earl of the Wushanling border and the youngest granddaughter of Earl Orson Hyde. The current Wushan territory is facing internal and external troubles, and is very unstable. This border Earl not only has a prosperous family, but also bears the important responsibility of maintaining border security. This resulted in the border Earl being a vassal of the Marquis, but once the relationship became strained, he would exert little or even no effort in certain important matters, causing incalculable damage to the Wushanling. As a result, the father who had just returned from a military expedition gave his predecessor a punch upon hearing this news. He intended to teach him a lesson, but he didn't expect to directly send him to heaven. Recalling this, Luo Ning's heart became even more worried and uneasy. Will the Marquis' mansion of Wushan sacrifice him for the stability of his territory and family? Think about it, it's very likely. After all, his predecessor's mother died early, his father didn't hurt, his grandfather didn't love him, and there wasn't much power behind him to support him. Although his political status was high, his situation was very awkward. How could I encounter such a tricky situation as soon as I traveled? Luo Ning felt helpless in his heart. He turned his head to look left and right, and the group of guards following him completely dispelled the idea of whether he could slip away. The Marquis' mansion is very large, with numerous landscapes such as rockeries, fountains, and flowers, showcasing the luxury and heritage of the Wushan family everywhere. Following the wide staircase, a huge military fortress built entirely of white jade stands at the top of the hill, imposing yet heavy. This is Wushan Fortress. Ronin's heart was only shaken by this scene for 1 or 2 seconds, and then it was replaced by anxiety. He is about to face not only Count Wiggins, his father who sent his predecessor away with a punch, but also representatives of the Hyde family who angrily come to seek an explanation. These two groups of people both want to vent their anger on him. Poor little cutie, how can he bear such a big anger? Heavenly spirit, earthly spirit, the legendary golden finger quickly appears, rescue your master. As a fan of games and novels, he knows well that every traveler has a golden finger. In the desperate situation, he could only pray for this. Perhaps in response to his call, a line of words flickered in his sight. Activate. After obtaining a title. When Luo Ning saw this line of text, he was overjoyed. He did indeed have a golden finger leaning against him. But after reading the content of this line, his smile froze, and his golden finger was even activated. A title. How could it be so easy to obtain? Although his predecessor had inheritance rights, to become a Marquis of Wushan, he had to wait for his grandfather to die before his father passed away, and then it was his turn to inherit. To put it another way, after he graduates from the extraordinary college, his father may appoint him as a noble or baron, but that's also next year. There is still 1 year left. Moreover, at present, Ronin not only faces the anger of Wiggins, but also the risk of being sacrificed. Where can he get a title? It's unlucky to have a golden finger, but it can't be activated. It's unlucky to open the door for his mother. It's unlucky to get home. He is really unable to express his suffering. Young Master Luo Ning, adults are waiting for you inside. After the guards escorted Luo Ning to the entrance of the fortress, they stood on both sides. The captain made a gesture of invitation, gesturing for Luo Ning to enter alone. Standing under the 5-meter-high gate of the fortress, Luo Ning felt his insignificance. He lifted his eyes and looked inside. At the end, several figures could be vaguely seen dozens of meters away. Heavy and oppressive. What should come, can't escape. He took a deep breath and then walked inside. There are no guards standing guard on either side of the long corridor in the castle hall. It seems that they do not want the arguments inside to be spread. Things may not be as bad as imagined. Luo Ning comforted himself and soon came to the end, seeing the 5 people here clearly. On a high jade throne in front of him sat an elderly man with gray hair and wrinkles on his face. Seeing him, Luo Ning's heart couldn't help but beat 2 points faster. This old man is the founder of this castle, the owner of the Wushanling, a powerful meteor-level knight, the Marquis of the Kingdom of Ajuan, and the Lord of Roland's Wushanling. Luo Ning didn't expect that even the old Marquis, who had been indifferent to politics for over a decade, would be alarmed by this matter. It seemed that even the Marquis had to pay attention to the relationship with the Hyde family. On the right side of the old Marquis stood a burly middle-aged man with a beard. He is the second son of the Marquis of Roland's, the Earl of Wushan City, the future heir of the Wushan territory, and Ronin's father, Wiggins Wushan. As the second son of the old Marquis, Wiggins should not have had the right to inherit the title, but it was his turn after his elder brother Grimes died in battle 30 years ago, but he was clearly not prepared. At the age of 52, Wiggins is still just a senior knight, with weak strength and unclear mind, unable to suppress the restless vassals in this chaotic era. And as the eldest son of Wiggins and the second successor of the future Wushanling, his predecessor was an ordinary person who did not even possess extraordinary power. Both heirs have this kind of virtue, and the outside world naturally feels that after the old Marquis passes away, the understanding of the Marquis of Wushan will gradually crumble. This is the root cause of instability in the Wushan region. Luo Ning quietly glanced at the 3 people on the other side, all wearing armor and swords, emitting a strong aura, especially the golden-haired man in the middle, which made Luo Ning very uneasy. If he didn't admit it wrong, this person would be the knight following the Count of the Border. Negan the Golden Lion, a golden-level peak knight who was only 1 step away from the old Marquis in terms of combat power. Seeing Luo Ning walking, the 5 people in the hall had different expressions. The old Marquis on the high seat remained calm, without anger or sorrow. The 3 knights snorted coldly, with angry and hostile eyes that were cannibalistic. Only Wiggins angrily roared, "Damn it, don't you kneel down yet." Ronin was startled by the sudden roar. The voice of the advanced knights in the other world was so loud. Considering the opponent's punch that killed his predecessor, he could only obediently surrender and kneel in the center of the hall. Just then, a sneer came from above, and the representative of the Hyde family, the Golden Knight Negan Golden Lion, disdainfully glanced at Wiggins. The main lord has arrived, and the Count of Wushan City doesn't need to play these illusions in front of us. Miss Selina died because of Ronin, and the Wushan family must give us a satisfactory explanation for the Hyde family. Yes. The knight next to him agreed, and this siege of the Black Gold Brotherhood was caused by your wrong command, which led to the death of Baron Slant. You must pay the price for your mistake. The eldest and youngest granddaughters of the Hyde family both died because of your Wushan family. If this matter cannot be properly handled, it will only damage the friendship between our two families. Based on the principle that, my vassals are not my vassals, the three knights represented by the Knights of Niejen, who are mainly Count Hyde, do not give Wiggins any face and directly vent their anger, with a posture of facing each other in battle without paying a price. In this situation, Wiggins usually sprays back louder. But at this moment, he couldn't refute it because he did make mistakes in his command during the war against the bandits. With his face flushed with anger, he had nowhere to vent his anger and could only roar at Luo Ning again, damn it. But Luo Ning's heart sank to the bottom. He didn't expect that two grandchildren of the Hyde family would die at once, and even one granddaughter would be disregarded. Even the eldest grandson with inheritance rights died unexpectedly in battle. And it was also the pot of my predecessor's father. Isn't this pot brought to my head too? Luo Ning's heart became increasingly uneasy. As his eldest grandson, he wouldn't have used his life to offset that of Slant, would he? The silence, oppression, and suffocating atmosphere made Luo Ning breathe quickly. He was just a newcomer to society who had just left school. How could he have experienced such a battle? But he knew that the person who decided whether he could be safe was not his father, nor were the three representatives of the Hyde family, but rather the silent Roland's Wushan sitting on a high seat. The old Marquis once trained his predecessor as a successor. After all, his son had already passed away, and he could only rely on his eldest grandson to revitalize the family. His predecessor's performance disappointed him, especially after still not mastering extraordinary power in the past 2 years. Although war inevitably leads to death, I am deeply saddened by Baron Slant's death. He is a brave child. On the high seat, the old Marquis slowly opened his eyes and finally opened his mouth. Sir Negan, please convey my grief and apologies to Orson and Barrington. Upon hearing this, Negan stood up and knighted his chest with one hand. It was evident that his attitude towards Wiggins was completely different from his attitude towards the Marquis of Wushan. Negan must have conveyed it, but... The old Marquis raised his hand and let out a heavy sigh, interrupting the other person's words. Speaking of which, Wushan and Hyde are still related by marriage, but we didn't expect such unfortunate things to happen. It was Wiggins' fault for Slant's death in battle, and we should compensate for it, but Selina. Speaking of which, he glanced at his grandson kneeling on the ground, and at that moment, Luo Ning's heart also rose to his throat. Whether one can live or not depends on the following sentence. Selina committed suicide, not directly at the hands of Ronin. After hearing these words, Luo Ning's hanging heart finally came to rest. With the words of the old Marquis, he knew that his small life had finally been saved. As long as we can survive, then it's okay. But on the other hand, the three of Negan became anxious. Sir, although Miss Selina did not die directly in Ronin's hands, she was insulted and died by him. You cannot take this matter for granted with just one sentence. As he spoke, he took out a piece of parchment from his pocket and tearfully said, this parchment was written by Miss Selina herself, recording everything that happened to her after being forcibly pulled into the room by Ronin. If this is not punished, then we... Don't worry. The Marquis of Wushan interrupted Negan's words again. I'm just saying that Selena didn't die directly at Ronin's hands, so I won't agree to your request for Ronin to pay for her life. But I didn't say I wouldn't give the Hyde family an explanation. After hearing these words, Negan, who was originally planning to argue, finally stopped speaking. In fact, he also knew that it was impossible to directly ask the eldest grandson of the Marquis' mansion to pay for his life. He went to the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com, but only by doing so would they obtain what they wanted. After a moment of silence, Lulan slowly spoke up. Slant's death in battle has caused the Hyde family to lose an excellent eldest grandson. His death, as well as Selena's death, can be attributed to my Wushan family. Therefore, I hereby make a promise. Luo Ning held his breath and listened attentively, his fate determined by how the old man sitting on the table arranged it. I can promise. In the third generation, my youngest grandson, Brayden Wushan, the son of Wiggins and Diana, will inherit the title of Marquis of Wushan. As for Ronin. He paused for a moment, looked at Luo Ning with his head down, and said, deprive Luo Ning of the inheritance of Wushan. Although there is an inheritance system such as legitimate eldest son and legitimate eldest grandson, as long as they make fatal mistakes, it can be abolished. Ronin has now made a fatal mistake, or rather he has fallen into a vortex of fatal errors. As for depriving Luo Ning of his inheritance rights, can we improve the relationship? Even if an explanation is given. That's for sure. Because Brayden's mother, who took over Ronin's inheritance, had the surname Hyde, and was the daughter of Orson Hyde. That is to say, Brayden is the biological grandson of this border earl. Ronin's heart suddenly quickened, and in that moment he seemed to understand something. Is Selena's suicide aimed at depriving him of his inheritance and transferring it to his half-brother Brayden? The calculations behind this are really insidious. No, I have to find a way to leave the center of this vortex. 2. Seeking a way out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Lulan's made a promise, a new round of debate began in the hall of Wushan Fortress. The compensation plan will mainly be finalized by the three knights of Wiggins and Reagan, and there will naturally be negotiations in between. From this moment on, no one bothered to talk a little more about Luo Ning, as if he had nothing to do with this matter. He's really a tool man. Luo Ning muttered softly, and at the beginning, he listened to the argument in the hall for a few words before being distracted by the soreness in his legs. My predecessor was surrounded by alcohol and sex every day, and my physical fitness was too poor to be strong. If possible, he really wants to stand up and leave this hall. But now is not the time yet. Although he survived the crisis safely, he didn't know what fate would follow. Generally speaking, nobles who are deprived of their inheritance rights are either sent to other small cities to manage their families' businesses, or kept as pets in castles. Of course, there are also some who are deprived of their surnames and expelled from their families, and even die tragically. What is the fate waiting for him? As long as it's not like being imprisoned or banned, it's okay. The debate lasted for over an hour, and it was only then that the three knights of Negan left the fortress with satisfaction with the outcome. If nothing unexpected happens, officials from both sides will supplement the specific details and draft the contract for the follow-up. At this moment, Luo Ning, who was kneeling on the ground with numb legs, lifted his spirits. The outsiders have all left, and now it's his turn. Wushan Fortress fell silent for a while, then Wiggins angrily grabbed the crystal cup at hand and threw it in front of Ronin, shattering it with a loud bang. It's because of you that the family has paid such a great price. Luo Ning really wants to say that your son has already paid the price of his life, but he dare not say that. The old Marquis on the high seat glanced at the son he couldn't stand and asked coldly, where else can you be better than Ronin? Ahem. The battlefield commander dares to disperse attacks without even knowing the enemy's strength, and even agrees to the request of Slant, who is responsible for logistics, to lead troops to charge. Are you filled with horse dung in your mind? Cough cough, cough cough cough. The more he spoke, the more angry he became, and the old Marquis coughed violently. Wiggins had a somewhat irritable temper, but in the face of his father's criticism, he could only reluctantly retract his head and sit in a chair without speaking. Sigh. After Lu Lancy calmed down, he let out a heavy sigh. His immature son seemed to have not yet realized the meaning of Selena's suicide, and his political sense was too slow. If it were his eldest son Graham, he wouldn't have these troubles anymore. Lu Lancy turned his gaze to Luo Ning, who was still kneeling. Perhaps bored, he casually asked, "Luo Ning, my grandson, how do you view this matter?" He sighed again. The character of his eldest grandson was the same as that of Wiggins when he was young. No, it's better. At least Wiggins has mastered the fighting spirit, while Ronin is just an ordinary person. Upon hearing the Marquis ask him, Ronin lifted his head. Although he couldn't figure out why Lullens asked him such a question, he knew that the good or bad answers might affect his future treatment. Conspiracy, this is a conspiracy. His predecessor's brain was not very bright, so he tried to speak less clearly. Although I can't remember what happened that night, Selena and I already had a good impression of each other. If anything really happened, she wouldn't commit suicide. There must be a conspiracy behind this. An unexpected flash flashed in Lullens' eyes. Can his grandson still have such insight? And at this time, shouldn't he, who has lost his inheritance rights, kneel down and cry bitterly, falling into endless regret and sorrow? Get up, my grandson. Tell me what kind of conspiracy it will be. Luo Ning breathed a sigh of relief and slowly stood up, enduring the discomfort and grinning. The physical punishment time finally came to an end. He thought for a moment and organized the language. Grandpa, I think someone should have assassinated Selena and then framed me to stir up our relationship with the Hyde family, making the Wushanling even more uneasy and unstable, and ultimately achieving the goal of splitting the Wushanling. In fact, he was more willing to say that this was a conspiracy of the Hyde family, but this understanding was deeper than what his predecessor could have imagined, so he spoke in a more superficial way. But it was this shallow speculation that made Lullens nod. Having such a level of understanding shows that your brain is a bit more intelligent than your father Wiggins. Wiggins hesitated to speak. Was the old man confused? Is this stupid son smarter than him? Attempting to stir up the relationship between Hyde and Wushan, in his view, this was clearly Ronin talking nonsense. What you said makes some sense. Lullens smiled and gestured for Ronin to sit aside. In fact, in his heart, he began to doubt whether Selena was actually the bloodline of the Hyde family. However, there is no need for him to express his speculation. It's better to let Breton inherit. This little guy gave birth to a seed of fighting spirit at the age of 13, and his future achievements will definitely be higher than yours. With the support of the Hyde family, our family can still firmly sit in the Wushan leadership. Luo Ning's expression moved and he roughly understood in his heart. Perhaps from the beginning, this old Marquis knew what the demands of the Hyde family were. The old Marquis looked down on Wiggins and his predecessor, so after understanding the intentions of the Hyde family, he took advantage of the situation and abolished Ronin's inheritance rights. Rather than waiting for the collapse of Wushan Ling after his death, it is better to let the Hyde family wholeheartedly support him. At least the owner of Wushan Ling is still surnamed Wushan. So from beginning to end, Lullens showed no anger towards Ronin, not even a hint of blame. Does this make Luo Ning feel relieved? Perhaps he can claim some benefits by being stripped of his inheritance rights. Losing inheritance rights may be a good thing for you. Although you do not have inheritance rights, you are still a child of my Wushan family, and there is no problem with retirement in this castle, continued Roland's retirement. Luo Ning is still young and has finally traveled through. He doesn't want to live in this castle where he can see his head at a glance. And being at the center of this vortex, it's better for him to leave early as he might lose his life. Grandpa, I don't want to retire in the castle. As soon as Luo Ning spoke these words, he was met with Wiggins' scolding. Why, the family doesn't think it's enough to support you. Believe it or not, I'll just kick you out of the family. Oh. So what do you want to do? Lullens asked with a smile. This sentence directly suppressed Wiggins' anger as he was about to vent, which was very uncomfortable. It was precisely this old man who did not show any anger or blame from beginning to end that made Luo Ning feel there was a chance to gain benefits. Of course, a straightforward request is not very good, he needs to play it out in words. I saw Luo Ning's expression turn desolate, with a heart-wrenching and regretful expression. Grandpa, as well as my father, I feel very guilty and self-blaming for the mistake I made in my confusion, which has cost my family so much. From yesterday until now. Speaking, Luo Ning wiped his eyes hard, and the discomfort caused 2 tears to seep out of the corners of his eyes. I don't want to be a useless member of my family who only knows how to eat and drink. I want to make up for my mistake. I want to take care of my family's industry, even if it's a small-town baron in a remote area. I'm willing to go and earn profits for my family. Without a title, Ronin is also a nobleman. But with a title, he can activate the golden finger. This is his true demand. How dare you still want me to crown you a baron? Wiggins's angry beard was about to explode. I asked you to manage the town. Do you have that ability? Ha ha ha, cough cough cough. Lullens laughed and coughed. He was too tired today, and his old illness made him very tired. It's rare for you to have this kind of thought, and your idea is also good. Moreover, being able to perceive the conspiracy behind Selina's death indicates that your mind is not as foolish as I imagined. At this point, the old Marquis paused for a moment and said, I can give you a chance. He looked at his son and said, Wiggins, you can choose a small town in a remote area for Ronin to try. Even if it's poorly managed, it doesn't matter. Most importantly, this can keep Luo Ning away from Wushan City and benefit everyone. Luo Ning laughed and was very happy to be a little further away from the center of the vortex. Thank you, Grandpa, I will definitely manage well and not let down the family's gift. Wiggins didn't look very good on his face. Father, you dote on him too much. This guy is nothing more than seeking pleasure. When he comes back from this war, those who have made contributions haven't been rewarded yet, but it's not appropriate to give Ronin a fiefdom first. Lullens didn't continue to say much on this topic, but slowly stood up with a cane ready to leave. Zhaozhuiyuan.com. My body is getting worse and worse, and I estimate it will only be 2 or 3 years before I die. As the Count of Wushan City and the future heir of Wushanling, can you think more objectively about one thing? Wiggins closed his mouth, he didn't know why his father suddenly got angry with him. However, as he watched his increasingly emaciated father, his heart also felt bitter. A knight at the peak of meteor level can live at least 110 years without any accidents, but due to a serious injury 30 years ago, his physical condition was extremely poor. Now, at the age of 75, he is nearing his limit. Okay, father. Wiggins sighed and thought for a moment before saying, then let Ronin serve as the Baron of Shanlin Town and take care of it for us. This way, those who have made contributions will not have too much opinion. Shanlin Town. Luo Ning's ears perked up, and his predecessor had no information about Shanlin Town in his mind. It was probably a remote place. What does Wiggins mean by this last sentence? Why don't those who have made contributions have too much opinion? Lullens' footsteps paused for a moment, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't say it. Whatever you want. The old Marquis said and continued to leave the hall. And at this moment, Luo Ning laughed because in his line of sight, the line of text had changed. Obtaining a title, the system is currently being activated. Grandpa, I'll help you. Luo Ning ran up with a smile, he was so grateful to the old man. Hee, you're a bit more considerate than before. Meanwhile, Lullens sighed in his heart, if it had been changed earlier, perhaps I wouldn't have stripped you of your inheritance. But everything is too late. 3. A self-design system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What happens in Wushan Fortress is bound to sweep across the entire Wushan territory like a storm in the coming days. While people may mock or lament Ronin's loss of inheritance, they will also adjust their attitude towards the Hyde family. The border earl, combined with the grandfather's status as the heir of the Wushan tribe, has taken the already prestigious Hyde family to the next level. Luo Ning doesn't pay much attention to the discussions from the outside world and his own pointing. After escorting Lolans out of the Wushan fortress, he quickly returned to his small building and familiarized himself with the activated golden finger. With his call, 5 interfaces appeared in his field of vision. Looking at the monthly check.in, 7-day login, first recharge gift, achievement tasks, and attribute panel in front of him, Luo Ning was deeply shocked. Sleeping trough, isn't this the system I designed? On Earth, he is a game planner involved in the development and production of a card game, and his main task is to design some of the systems within the game. Luo Ning didn't expect that the things he worked overtime to produce would travel with him and become his golden finger. He began to browse through these interfaces one by one, starting with monthly check.in. This interface is divided into 4 rows and 7 columns, with a total of 28 small grids, which perfectly corresponds to the rules of 28 days per month and 7 days per week in this world. Luo Ning took a look and found that the rewards in the monthly check.in system cycle every 7 days. The first 6 days of the 7 days have rewards with attribute points +1, and the 7th day is a heartwarming gift box. In addition, there is a prompt at the bottom of the interface that increasing the rank can increase the multiplier of the check.in reward. Currently no additional bonus. Looking at this interface, Luo Ning felt a bit helpless. When he designed the check.in system, he designed it this way. He wanted to give players some sweetness, but couldn't give too many resources. So he gave some gold coins in the first 6 days, and on the 7th day, he gave some gold coins plus some jade and packaged them into a gift package. I think this heartwarming gift box is probably something similar. As for the subsequent increase, he was designed to be linked to VIP. For example, when he was promoted to VIP2, the check.in reward was twice that of VIP1. If I had known that when designing the check.in system, I would have enriched the rewards a bit, unlike the current stingy search style. With a hint of regret, Luo Ning looked at the login page for the second 7 days, and the reward was slightly richer than check.in. Day 1. Reward a knight with golden qualifications, Day 2. Reward a classic gift package, Day 3. Reward a space ring with 10 cubic meters of storage space, Day 4. Reward a premium gift package, Day 5. Reward a high-quality weapon, the flowing flame sword, Day 6. Reward a precious magic scroll that can sign a master-servant contract with Warcraft, Day 7. Reward a light mage with the qualification of a great wizard. From the perspective of a card game, this 7-day login reward includes 2 character cards and some development materials, which can help beginners get through the early stages of the game. From the perspective of Luo Ning now, it can also solve the problem of no one under his command. When he arrived at his own territory, he had to have some confidence. The 7-day login gave him a solution. But Ronin still feels uncomfortable. If I had known earlier, I should have put in a few cards with the strongest qualifications. What are the levels of knights and wizards in this world? Knight level 9. Beginner, intermediate, advanced, bronze, silver, gold, meteor, silver moon, scorching sun, magician level 9. Beginner, intermediate, advanced, great magician, chief magician, magician, great magician, magician, and great magician. The best login given in these 7 days is only for characters with the qualification of level 7 great magician. Although the great wizard is already considered a powerhouse in this world, Ronin still regrets not letting in a better one. If Luo Ning regrets his monthly check.in and 7-day login to these 2 systems, then this first-time recharge gift has made him very distressed. Recharge 6 magic crystals. Reward a fire attribute knight with scorching sun qualifications and a luxurious gift package. Jiaoyang, that is an absolute top-notch existence. At least I have never seen any extraordinary person at the Jiaoyang level before, even though I was so tall. This kind of reward is absolutely luxurious, but the cost of getting it is not low. Magic crystals are precious magical materials in this world. A magic crystal is worth about 100 gold coins, and in order for Luo Ning to obtain this subordinate with the Scorching Sun qualification, he needs to take out 600 gold coins to recharge. 600 gold coins, this is not a small amount. Luo Ning searched his drawer and found that his pocket money added up to only 23 gold coins. If I had known earlier, I should have lowered the conditions for the first recharge reward and just recharge 1 yuan. In this way, he only needs to consume 1 magic crystal to obtain this luxurious gift. Alas, I regret it so much. Damn game planning. Luo Ning didn't know who he was cursing, so he turned his gaze to the achievement task interface. In the game, the main purpose of monthly check.in and 7-day login is to attract retention. The first charge of luxury gift is to increase the payment rate of the new area, and the achievement task system is to give players a goal to strive for. At this point, the achievement tasks interface clearly displays 5 achievements. Famous throughout the world. A title is not only a symbol of status, but also a manifestation of strength. Please strive to become a Viscount. Rewards. Attribute points plus 200, energy and soul plus 400. A King of Slaughter. Kill any unit alone, reward. Attribute points plus 10, energy and spirit plus 20. Population prosperity. The registered population of the territory reaches 3,000, rewards. Attribute points plus 30, energy and spirit plus 60. Conquering city and strategizing territory. Own 1 city, rewards. Attribute points plus 200, energy and soul plus 400, fortune luck. Get 500 gold coins at once, rewards. Attribute points plus 20, energy and soul plus 40. By completing tasks, Luo Ning has basically determined his future development direction, which is to enhance his strength, manage his territory, earn wealth, and then seize cities and territories. He shifted his gaze to the last interface, which was the game character's attribute panel, recording his attributes at this moment. Name. Luo Ning Wushan. Title. Baron. Constitution. Double cultivation of fighting demons. You must break through both levels of your professions at the same time. Affinity. Wind, fire, super, etc. Level. Mortal, 0 out of 10, plus, attribute point. 1, energy spirit. 0. Take a clear look at the content on this interface, especially after seeing the plus sign after the level. Ronin instantly becomes more and more energized. In this extraordinary world with fighting spirit and magic, Ronin naturally refuses to be ordinary. This attribute panel gave him a way to break free from mediocrity and enter the realm of extraordinary. Adding points. This is the function of attribute points. After a while, Luo Ning's mood became better. Now he only needs to find a place to develop steadily and rely on the monthly attendance system to become stronger. By the way, Shanlin Town. Ronin's eyes lit up as he remembered Wiggins saying during his time at Wushan Fortress that he would become a baron in Shanlin Town. I don't know where Shanlin Town is. Luo Ning quickly searched through the drawer and took out a rough map of Wushanling at the bottom. As the map unfolded, a faint fishy smell filled the air, a unique scent of parchment that was not pleasant at all. Luo Ning is searching for the location of Shanlin Town on it. Remote areas. Based on this clue, Luo Ning accurately found Shanlin Town in the north of the map. Does this position look pretty good? Shanlin Town is the northernmost town in Wushanling, and further north, there are no other cities except for the mountains. Isn't the whole northern part mine? Luo Ning thought happily. Dong, dong, dong. The door was knocked on. Luo Ning withdrew his gaze from the map and cleared his throat. Please come in. The door was pushed open, and a middle-aged man in a butler's gown walked in, politely bowing to Ronin. Hall Water has seen the young master. Although Luo Ning was stripped of his inheritance rights, he is still the bloodline of the Wushan family and a noble. Howard is the butler of the Marquis' mansion, and although he holds a certain position at zhaozuiyuan.com, he has always been a servant and remains respectful to his master without any faults. Is there anything else, Mr. Howard? The butler approached and placed the box in his hand on Ronin's table, politely saying, "Young master, this is the appointment letter that the master has just written. He asked me to bring it over and give it to you. He also asked me to convey that he hopes you will leave for Shanlin town within 2 days." Luo Ning's eyebrows and eyes twitched, and his predecessor's father really wished he could leave early. He opened the box and opened the appointment letter, which contained the appointment details. "Oh, why doesn't my name have a surname?" Luo Ning asked. He only saw the words, Luo Ning, in the names section of the appointment letter, and the surname, Wushan, was not written on it, it was empty. The master said that after you become independent, you can have your own surname. If you haven't figured it out, you can leave it blank. Wait until you have figured it out, fill it out, inform him, and register. Luo Ning's heart was filled with joy. Good guy, this cheap old man even gave away all his surnames. Nobles can indeed change their surname, but it usually occurs when a family or two factions are evenly matched, making it easier for the outside world to distinguish. However, even if they change their surname, these two groups will still recognize each other's family for at least a few generations, and their bloodline will not change, nor will they refuse to recognize it. Wiggins is doing this purely to vent his displeasure towards Ronin. This guy is really irritable and stubborn. Luo Ning is not angry. Anyway, he has traveled through time and his surname is fine. He would be more willing to choose his own surname. He pondered for a moment, placed the appointment letter on the table, then picked up a pen and wrote down his surname. For crisis-ridden territory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luo Ning wrote a new surname on the appointment letter. Blaze Storm. This word is a nickname for Ronin in a game, symbolizing his growing European spirit like the wind blowing fire. If you insist on explaining it now, it can be related to its attributes when using this world. After all, his attributes are wind and fire, and his affinity is still superior, which is an incredible level. Please ask the butler to tell my father that I take Firestorm as my surname, and I hope that Wushan Ling and my territory will be as red as the wind and flames. Hall Water nodded repeatedly, the name was well received. Don't worry, young master. I will convey your ideas to the master. He felt that the infamous eldest grandson of the Marquis in front of him was different from before, perhaps because he had grown a lot after experiencing these 2 days of mutation. A mature and stable family member is very important for the current Wushan leader, even if this person is no longer surnamed Wushan, their bloodline still exists. Wherever you go, the symbol of black pupils and silver hair belonging to the Wushan family always exists. Luo Ning dried the handwriting on the appointment letter and put it back in the box. He glanced at the map spread out on the table and thought that the butler in front of him might know more, so he asked. I am about to become a baron in Shanlin town, but I know nothing about it. Hall Water, do you know anything about Shanlin town? As a butler, Howard has much higher knowledge than ordinary domestic servants. In addition, serving around Wiggins all year round also allows for access to some information. Young Master Luo Ning, I do have some understanding of Shanlin town. He introduced, Shanlin town is located to the north of Wushanling, adjacent to the end of the Wushan Warcraft mountain range to the west, and surrounded by a large forest and hills to the east and north. It is said that passing through them leads to the sea, and only the south can lead to the outside world. However, there are also undulating hills blocking the way, and the transportation is not very good. Luo Ning frowned slightly. This place is really a remote area, and it seems to be a bit dangerous. The monsters in the Wushan Warcraft mountain range won't attack Shanlin town, will they? He was somewhat worried. This is a possible young master. The butler said, I remember over the years the master had arranged for barons or cavaliers to take care of the mountain forest town, but they seem to have died in the battle against Warcraft that winter. Luo Ning's face turned pale, lying on the bed. Isn't this a place of great calamity? No wonder Wiggins would say that those who have made contributions do not have much objection to appointing Ronin as Baron of Shanlin Town. This is a place that is both dangerous and inconvenient for transportation. It's probably not very oily yet, and no one wants to do a fiefdom, right? Hogwarts watched as Ronin's face changed. Knowing that his introduction had frightened him, he quickly comforted him. Actually, young master, you don't have to worry. Warcraft is used to going down the mountain to search for food when it snows in winter. You just need to stay in the castle and don't go out too much. Thank you for your advice, I think it's very useful, Luo Ning said with a bitter smile, thank you very much for your affirmation. Howard continued, actually, it's not just Warcraft, there are also some savage tribes in the mountains north of Shanlin Town that pose a certain threat. More than 20 years ago, the Marquis sent people to besiege these savage tribes. Although we lost some guards and knights, we have already dealt a devastating blow to those guys. What? Luo Ning was surprised, is there still a savage tribe? Forget about Warcraft, what is this savage, a humanoid creature covered in fur all over? Through the introduction of Hallwater, Ronin has gained some understanding of the savage tribes in the northern forest of Shanlin Town. The savage tribe is not a savage, but a defeated army that was chased and fled into the mountains by the Marquis more than 20 years ago. At first, the anti-Japanese army entered and exited the mountains and forests many times, and killed the enemy without success. Later, due to the remote location and insufficient supply of Shanlin Town, it was put on hold and not thoroughly eradicated. Over time, the remnants of the army and defeated generals absorbed more thieves, bandits, refugees and other people who fled into the deep mountains, gradually forming the current savage tribe. It sounds scary, but the actual combat effectiveness is not very high, otherwise the mountain forest town without a lord would have been annexed by the savage tribe long ago. But Ronin is still very worried, he must make some preparations to ensure his safety. Mr. Butler, has the Count arranged guards or elite family soldiers for me? In theory, children who start businesses away from home will receive some resource support from their families. It's just Wiggins, I can't say for sure. Hallwater hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, I'm sorry, young master. The master didn't arrange any guards or elite soldiers. Sure enough, the father of his predecessor did not surprise Luo Ning in any way. What about money, food, horses, and so on? Hallwater still shook his head, it was clear that Wiggins had no resource support at all. Okay, I got it. Ronin appeared very decadent and sat down on the chair. To be prepared, one must receive material or financial support from others, especially money. With it, Luo Ning can go out and buy. He must find a way to get some money. It seems like I can only ask with a thick skin. After making this decision, Luo Ning is ready to start acting. He learned from his memory that Wiggins and his predecessor's mother Fatima were very affectionate, and if it weren't for their accidental death, he wouldn't have had a stepmother named Diane Hyde. It seems that the Count doesn't consider me a son at all. Has he forgotten the promise he made to my mother back then? Luo Ning looked sad and said, he once promised my mother to take care of me and my sister's safety with his own life, but now that I am about to go to a dangerous place like Shanlin Town, he doesn't even give me a guard or a gold coin. He clearly wants me to die in Shanlin Town. Ronin looked straight into Hallwater's eyes, only then did he say in a tone of 3 parts crying, 3 parts complaining, and 4 parts angry when he couldn't dodge the latter's gaze, if I have an accident on the road or in my territory, I will definitely tell my mother in heaven that the man she deeply loves is actually a ruthless person who breaks his promise. I really feel unworthy of my mother. Young master, you. Don't get excited yet. Hallwater was a bit flustered, he just came to deliver a letter of appointment and didn't expect such a scene to happen suddenly. The Count's son, the Baron of Shanlin Town, cried in front of him. "Noble, this is the first time I have cried to his butler." He quickly made up an excuse to appease him, perhaps, maybe the old man just forgot because he was too busy. "I'll remind him when I go back later." Luo Ning touched the corner of his eyes and made a gesture of wiping away tears, but in reality, his eyes were dry. "Thank you very much, Mr. Butler. Please convey my words to the Count and ask if he still remembers a woman named Fatima Sari." Okay. Hallwater quickly responded and politely and hastily left the room. After seeing the butler leave, Luo Ning let out a long breath. In just half a day, he has acted in 2 consecutive scenes, and as someone who is not an actor, he feels quite tired. Returning to the attribute panel, Luo Ning used up 1 attribute point obtained from today's check.in and added it to the level. Level. Mortal, 0 out of 10, 1 out of 10, in an instant, Luo Ning felt the exhaustion on his body disappear, and at the same time, he felt that his physical and mental abilities had been strengthened to a certain extent. Zhaozuiyuan.com, the addition of points in the mortal stage should be the process of getting rid of my previous weak constitution. He looked at the other 4 interfaces with great satisfaction. Check-in is automatic and does not require his operation. The 7-day login and achievement tasks are also automatically completed, but rewards need to be manually claimed by him. Now he can claim the first day's reward and obtain a subordinate with the qualification to become a level 6 Golden Knight. But now is not the time to claim rewards. The sudden appearance of a stranger in the Marquis' mansion is bound to arouse suspicion from others. Ronin doesn't want this matter exposed. Don't worry, you can collect it when you go out. The most important thing now is to make money. Where do we get the money from? Ronin tapped his fingers on the table. The only people who hold the wealth of the entire castle are the grandfather Marquis of Wushan, father Count Wiggins, stepmother Diane, and younger brother Braden. Wiggins has already asked Butler Howard to speak, and Diane may also be present. So these 2 people, Luo Ning doesn't have to make any decisions. And his brother Braden is not at home at the Extraordinary Academy in Wushan City at the moment, leaving only Lullins. Just as he was stripped of his inheritance rights and offered a baron a favor, is it appropriate for Ronin to go and ask for resource support from Lullins? Thin-skinned people may not want to go, but Luo Ning thinks it doesn't matter. He has a slightly thicker skin. Following his memory, Luo Ning ran to the outside of the old Marquis' detached building. He could hear the sound of Lullins coughing inside, as well as the busy figures of several servants. Grandpa Ronin called out and then walked into the room. 5. Seeking funding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's Luo Ning. In the room, Roland leaned against the bedside. He heard Ronin's voice and was a bit puzzled as to why his grandson was so attentive today. What's up with coming to see me? He. Luo Ning smiled and came to the bedside, pretending to be embarrassed. Grandpa, I just learned about the situation in Shanlin Town. It's still quite poor and dangerous there. It's not safe for me to go alone. Cough cough. Lullins coughed twice. He used to think that the child had grown up, but he didn't expect that the other person would still be afraid of difficulties, which made Lullins a little unhappy. So you're not going over? No. Luo Ning was very determined. Since I want to redeem myself and do something for the family, I won't back down because of this danger. Oh. Lullins' face softened slightly. Luo Ning chuckled and said, but Grandpa, I used to be alone and many things were difficult to handle. He also pretended to be his daughter and shook the hand of Lulansi Kaleo, so I hope the family can arrange some guards or elite soldiers for me, and then provide me with some gold coins to buy some food and weapons and equipment. Grandpa doesn't want my grandson to die before he even reaches Shanlin Town. I want to come back to your birthday party this year. Ha ha ha. Lullins laughed, first considering Ronin's birthday now, and second considering Ronin's growth. He didn't expect this uneducated guy to actively consider future things and know how to get resources. He has confirmed that this child has really grown up. You know, I have been letting go of family matters to your father for more than 10 years. Now, the deployment and distribution of guards are arranged by him and his knights. You can only go to your father for this matter, and I'm afraid I won't be able to help you in any way. This kind of statement is like a refusal. Wiggins is so afraid of Lullins, whether to give resources to Ronin or not is it just a matter of Lullins saying a word. Luo Ning could only make a pitiful statement. After my mother's death, my father has always disliked me. Now when I ask him for resources, he not only scolds me, but may even beat me up. At this point, it's time to play some emotional cards. He cried out, "Grandpa taught me to read, ride horses, and hunt." Now, he doesn't even want to support his grandson who is about to travel. It's really not possible. Even if I borrow from my family, I will pay it back bit by bit later. Is face important? Of course that's important. But it also needs to be divided and combined. The so-called crying child has milk to eat, and Luo Ning is now going to play the role of a crying child. As for the dispute between the Wushan family and the Border Count family caused by him, he simply stopped thinking about it and assumed it was not his fault. Yes, those things were done by his predecessor. What's the relationship with him, Ronin? The old Marquis may be angry or unhappy, but he has the audacity to come over today and ask for something. Fortunately, the soon-to-be old man Lullins is still very nostalgic, especially when Ronin mentioned teaching literacy, horseback riding, and hunting. His heart was deeply touched. He had to admit that he had invested a lot of emotions in Luo Ning. Now, facing the request of his grandson, who had once harbored endless hope, his heart softened once again. Okay, I agree. Lullin said helplessly, then turned his head to look at the old butler who was waiting on the side. You go tell Wiggins to support Ronin with 100 gold coins in my name, and other supplies such as food, guards, horses, etc. As a father, he also needs to express that Ronin is also his son, a child of my Wushan family. Okay, sir. The old butler bowed and then left the room to notify. Luo Ning grinned and said, "Thank you, Grandpa, for your support. I will definitely manage Shanlin Town very well." "Then do your best." Lullin smiled and slowly lay down. "Remember to go back to the castle more often when you have time," he said. "I will." Luo Ning knew it was an order to expel guests, so he stood up and helped Lullins pull a blanket over their chest, then left the room. This child has really grown up. Lullins looked at Ronin's departing figure and sighed. It's just a pity it's a bit late, it's just a pity he hasn't mastered fighting spirit or magic. As a pioneer under the Marquis' leadership, Lullins naturally hoped that his family could continue to be strong and did not rely on outsiders. Unfortunately, when he was alive, those former followers did not yet have any thoughts, and even if they had thoughts, they would not take action. But when he dies, it's not certain. Letting Breton inherit and binding the Hyde family to the Wushan family is the best choice. As for Ronin, whether it's a baron or giving 100 gold coins to support him now, it doesn't matter much to Lullins. Luo Ning has made progress, and he is happy to see it. Luo Ning has still not made any achievements, and he will not be angry. On the other side, Ronin walked out of the old Marquis' house and looked at the peaceful garden in front of him, feeling refreshed. 100 gold coins, along with his own balance, make up a total of 128 gold coins, which is enough for him to purchase many resources. At least he doesn't have to worry about going hungry in the remote mountain town. Since my grandfather has already given orders, even if my cheap father is unwilling, he will still support me to some extent, right? After some thought, Luo Ning dispelled his plan to go out and explore the market. Firstly, it's getting dark. Secondly, he wants to see what Wiggins will give him. If the initial supplies are sufficient, he doesn't need to go out to purchase anymore. Not long after, in the luxurious living room, Wiggins' angry questioning shook the crystal chandelier on the ceiling anxiously. What, should I give that guy resource support? Father, is he confused? This Luo Ning has caused huge losses to the family. We don't have to expel him from the family, but now he still wants me to support him. The rugged man took a big sip of beer and roared angrily, no way, I can't waste another drop of food or a soldier on him. But Lord Count, Lord Marquis said that young Master Luo Ning is after all a member of the Wushan family's bloodline. How about you support him a little bit, Lord Count? The old butler most stood on the side in a difficult situation, with the orders of the Marquis on one side and the usually irritable Count on the other. He dared not speak recklessly or speak much. Just follow your father's instructions. At this moment, the beautiful young woman sitting on the sofa beside her spoke. Diana Hyde, a woman over 40 years old, is still beautiful and charming. Her long, curly golden hair is casually draped on the sofa, complementing her reclining figure even more alluring. Father is right. No matter where Luo Ning goes, he will still be the bloodline and eldest grandson of our Wushan family. If something happens before he reaches Shanlin town, it will not be a good thing for both the Wushan family and the Hyde family. He killed your niece. Wiggins looked displeased at his wife and said, "Thank you for helping him speak." Hallwater stood aside and wiped his sweat. He had just been waiting for the master and wife to separate before telling Wiggins what Ronin had said. After all, it was referring to the former wife. Now it seems that we can't wait anymore. After careful consideration, Hallwater bowed and said, "Master, when I just went down to Lord Ronin's side, he also wanted me to tell you." "Tell me what?" Wiggins kept his voice cold. How could he never have noticed his son talking so much before? He said, for the sake of his mother Fatima Sari, give him some support. Some words were automatically omitted by Hallwater, and it was not appropriate to say them. But this sentence stunned Wiggins for a moment, and a stunning face couldn't help but come to mind. It was his white moonlight, his first true lover. He only knows how to move out his mother. Diane didn't seem to mind mentioning her husband's ex-wife at all. She smiled gently and said, "Yes, I heard you promise to do your best to take care of Ronin. That also depends on what kind of guy Luo Ning is." Wiggins took another sip of wine and said to Hallwater, "Just give Ronin some support as my father said." He paused for a moment and then said, "You don't need to give too much. You need to prepare first, and I'll confirm later." "Yes, sir," Hallwater responded with a smile. 6. Hidden Crisis. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is this what my father gave me? By the light of the torch, Luo Ning looked at the several carriages parked outside the estate, his tone somewhat disappointed. In front of him, there was a total of 1 warhorse, along with 6 carriages loaded with grain and 10 servants standing beside them. 7 horses, 6 carriages, and 10 servants. Hallwater stood aside and introduced, "Young master, this is a high-quality warhorse that can be sold for up to 100 gold coins on the market. And although these 6 horses are not warhorses, they are also of relatively high quality, each costing at least 20 gold coins." The carriage was loaded with 2,000 kilograms of barley, 500 kilograms of wheat, 500 kilograms of flour, 200 kilograms of dried meat, 50 kilograms of coarse salt, and 10 kilograms of fine salt. These foods were enough for you, these 9 elite soldiers, and your servants to eat for a year. In addition, there are daily necessities such as pots, tableware, and cups, although not many, they are enough for your daily use. Luo Ning chuckled, but the portion was quite small. These barley and wheat have not been peeled, and although they weigh 3,000 pounds, how much can they actually eat? Your Highness, is this to make him eat and starve for a year? As for the 9 elite soldiers, Luo Ning glanced at the 9 men standing next to the carriage with only 1 sword and no armor. Look at their lifeless appearance, these are the elite soldiers of Wushanbao. You're lying to ghosts. It was the servant standing on the side who made Luo Ning feel pretty good and strong. Alas, Forget it. Luo Ning shook his head secretly. Now he is not qualified to pick and choose, just accept whatever you have. He comforted himself while asking, is there anything else besides these? Where's the 100 gold coins my grandfather gave me? He cares more about this, as long as he has money, he can buy things he lacks on his own. On the market, there are 3 copper coins per kilogram of barley. If he buys 3,000 kilograms, he only needs 9 gold coins, which is still affordable. Here it is. Howard took out a black bag from his arms, and the sound of money colliding was very pleasant to the ear. In addition to the 100 gold coins given by the Marquis, Lady Diana also gave 50 gold coins, saying that you should develop well there and remember to go home and take a look when you have time. Ronin's eyes lit up. Good guy, the stepmother from my predecessor is still okay. Surprisingly, she would actively sponsor 50 gold coins. Why does she sponsor me? Luo Ning pondered, isn't the other party worried that his rise would threaten her son's position? Actually, this is because Ronin was overthinking. From Diane's perspective, it is a problem for Luo Ning to survive well when he goes to Shanlin town, let alone the issue of not rising. And where did an ordinary person rise up? So in Diane's eyes, Ronin and her son are not on the same level, and she doesn't need to compete. On the contrary, she did so. In the eyes of the Marquis of Wushan, she was truly considering the descendants of the Wushan family. Express my gratitude to Diane. Ronin casually said something and took the money bag from Hallwater's hand. The heavy feeling was really good. Besides, young master, the master asked me to pass on a message to you, said Hall Hua, responding to his orders. Oh. Ronin was a bit surprised. He had previously asked Hallwater to bring a message to Wiggins, but he didn't expect the other party to respond to him. What did the Count ask you to convey to me? It seems that this sentence is a bit awkward and makes it difficult for Hallwater to say it out loud, so he said softly, the master said, after you get these things, you should leave Wushanbao early tomorrow morning. Luo Ning. When Hallwater sent him the appointment letter before, Wiggins asked him to leave within 2 days. Now that he has obtained the resources, the other party directly asked him to leave tomorrow morning. It seems that taking out such things may have already displeased Wiggins. At the thought of this, Luo Ning couldn't help but laugh. Hallwater, thank my father for me. Ah. Hallwater was a bit puzzled. Thank you for his tolerance, which allowed me to stay in the castle for an extra night. Hallwater smiled apologetically. He could hear the faint hint of sarcasm and provocation in this sentence, but he could understand Ronin, as a son, complaining about his father's attitude. Luo Ning put away his money bag and pointed to the male servant who satisfied him quite well. This guy was much more energetic than the 9 elite soldiers. What's your name? The servant walked up and gave a standard servant salute. Your most loyal servant, Chahar, has seen the master. Hello, Chahar. Luo Ning nodded at the other party and said, follow Howard and ask him to help arrange accommodation for the night. Also, be prepared. We will depart tomorrow morning after breakfast. As you wish, sir. Chahar bowed in response and turned to arrange. Although Shanlin town is not a good place, Chahar's dream is to become the butler of a great noble like Hallwater. So when he heard that Hallwater was looking for a servant to serve Ronin, he volunteered. He knew that although going to Shanlin town was dangerous, it was also an opportunity. Being a servant in Wushanbao may lead to a more stable life, but it is too difficult to achieve one's dream. I hope the Baron can stand firm in Shanlin town. Chahar prayed in his heart that only when his master was stable would he have the possibility of realizing his ideals. Ronin asked Hallwater to arrange accommodation for the guards and servants, and then returned to his room with a money bag. Now his savings have reached 173 gold, 54 silver, and 18 copper, totaling over 178 gold coins. With the addition of hidden assets such as war horses, and carriages, Ronin's current value may exceed that of some near-bankrupt barons. Despite being despised by his father and deprived of inheritance rights, being able to access these resources far exceeded his expectations. I'm leaving tomorrow, everything I should take away must be taken away. Luo Ning looked around the room, where there were many clothes and books stored, all of which belonged to him and could not be left behind. Well, let's just forget about the table. It's too big and bad luck, and there's no shortage of wood in the mountain. When the time comes, I'll have to make a few myself. Oh, by the way, there is also a blanket that can be used on the road. Luo Ning became busy. The night was already deep, and apart from the guards on duty and the servants who had not yet finished their work, most of the people who could rest in Wushan had already rested. In a long room, the 9 guards selected to follow Luo Ning to Shanlin town couldn't sleep. They are different from Chahar. They did not voluntarily go to Shanlin town, but were forcibly arranged, and they, who were attached to Wushan, had no right to object. Alas, the thought of leaving Wushan city in 2 days makes me feel powerless all over. There was a guard lying sideways on the hay, his tone full of concern. I've heard that Shanlin town is a dangerous place. I don't know how many people are eaten by warcraft every year, and in that deep mountain forest, there's no guarantee of even a meal a day. Going there is just waiting to die. Yeah, I don't know what the adults think. Lord Luo Ning is going to become a lord in Shanlin town. Why don't we arrange for a professional knight to escort us ordinary people? Isn't it that even Lord Luo Ning's safety is not valued? Hee, don't you know yet? Ronin has already been stripped of his inheritance, which is equivalent to being abandoned by the Count. Will the Count still arrange for knights to protect such a person? Surprisingly, there's still this matter. In the long room, the 9 guards were chatting with each other, each and every word they said. The more they talked, the more desperate they became, and the more they felt like they were also abandoned people. If you go to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and go to Shanlin town, you will die. Perhaps because they were immersed in this atmosphere of despair, 2 timid people had already started to sob softly, they didn't want to die. Finally, a big man suddenly lowered his voice and said, since everyone doesn't want to go to Shanlin town, why don't we leave Luo Ning and run away alone halfway? The servant's abandonment of his master is a deadly sin. When this person's words fell, the long room fell into a deathly silence. After a while, someone finally timidly asked, so, won't we be pursued? Hee, don't forget that Guy Hallwater just gave Ronin over 100 gold coins. With this money, where can't we go? At this point, everyone's eyes seemed to have a glimmer of light. That's a whole 150 gold coins, and their group of people working as guards for 100 years together cannot earn so much money. We're going to rob young Master Luo Ning of his money. He's a nobleman. What are you afraid of? On the way to Shanlin town, there are many remote and uninhabited places where we can take action. Who knows we did it? As for the rest of life, where can't we live when we have so many coins? The person encouraged him, but in fact, this idea has been hovering in his heart for a long time, and what he lacks is assistance. Now all he needs to do is persuade these guards. When they take action, Ronin and Chahar, who are ordinary people, have no resistance at all. When the time comes, there will be money, horses, and supplies, and it's good to be a thief. Anyway, there will be more and more thief groups led by Wushan. Under his instigation, the greed in the hearts of others also surged more and more, and the long room was filled with the smell of betrayal. 7. Add some breakthroughs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ronin is now lying in bed, recalling the time spent playing games on Earth. He remembers playing a card game and often logging in at exactly 12 p.m. every night to receive refreshed monthly cards, daily benefits, and so on. He didn't expect that he, who was in a different world, would be propping up his fighting double eyelids again, waiting for the arrival of 12 o'clock in the morning. The room was quiet, and the flickering light from the white candle illuminated the pitch-black environment. It's 12 o'clock. Luo Ning looked at the changes on the check.in panel with a joyful expression. Attribute point +1, as soon as the time came, automatic check.in increased the attribute point of Ronin by 1 point. At the same time, the reward for the second day of logging in after 7 days has also become available for collection. The name of this reward is Classic Gift Pack, not a character card, so Luo Ning did not hesitate to choose to claim it. Suddenly, in Ronin's line of sight, a red golden border wrapped around it appeared, then opened and burst out with a strong light. Attribute point +30, energy and spirit +60, Luo Ning looked at his attribute panel. Level. Ordinary, 1/10, plus, attribute point. 31, energy spirit. 60, can we upgrade now? Luo Ning looked at the level column with excitement and unease. What would happen after adding 9 attribute points? Add more points. With a thought, 9 attribute points were invested in at once. In an instant, Luo Ning only felt that his body and mind had been greatly improved. Even at 12 o'clock at night, he was still lively and unable to sleep. Bang bang, bang bang, he can hear his heart beating clearly, it's so healthy and powerful. Now he has completely rid himself of his previous weak physique and ushered in a new life. At the same time, the property panel has also undergone changes. Level. 1. Junior Knight, 0 out of 100, plus, 1. Junior Mage, 0/150, plus, attribute point. 22, I have become a double extraordinary professional at the same time. For humans, there are 2 types of extraordinary powers. Fighting spirit and magic, corresponding to knights and magicians. After Ronin made a breakthrough, he simultaneously mastered these 2 extraordinary powers. He closed his eyes and carefully felt the position of his heart, vaguely sensing a seed beating and sprouting. This is the legendary seed of fighting spirit. As the knight's physical strength increases, the seed of fighting spirit will become stronger and stronger, and eventually the fighting spirit inside will sprout, which is the symbol of becoming a mid-level knight. As for the magician, it's much simpler. Ronin could feel a wonderful space in his brain, where the magician could absorb external elements through meditation and refine them into magic. The speed of refinement depends on the mage's affinity for various types of elements. Ronin has a super affinity for both wind and fire, and its refining speed is naturally very fast. Wow, wow. Upon arriving in a different world, Luo Ning mastered the magical power of transcendence and was extremely excited. The reward for logging in these 7 days is not bad either. He chuckled and completely forgot his feelings when he scolded the dog planner. He looked at the remaining 22 attribute points and pondered. At present, physical fitness is very important to him, so it would be better to add some knights first. So he added all the remaining attribute points to the knight level. As his body strengthened again, Luo Ning felt his strength unprecedentedly strong. He would probably have spent more than 20 years punching casually. He could also feel that the seed of fighting spirit in his heart had grown a bit stronger. Sure, not bad. Now he also understands the 5 interfaces of his golden finger. Monthly check.in, 7-day login, first recharge gift, achievement tasks, and attribute panel. Monthly attendance and achievement tasks are continuous and flowing. The 7-day login and first charge luxury gift are the same ideas as when designing the system, stimulating players in a short period of time, bringing retention and payment. The attribute panel is the consumption port and the functional part. The reward for monthly attendance can be increased by increasing the rank level, so becoming a Viscount will be my next goal. Moreover, becoming a Viscount can also complete achievements and earn attribute point rewards. Having mastered extraordinary power, Luo Ning naturally wanted to take it to the next level. Legend has it that the 9th level Scorching Sun Knight is unbeatable to 10,000 people, and even has a lifespan of 200 years. With a strong comparison, Luo Ning naturally yearns for it. Thinking of this, he began to regret it again. If I had known that the check.in reward was linked to the rank level, when I was at Wushan Fortress, I should have prayed to my grandfather to give me a noble title. This is actually just a statement. Generally speaking, only heirs who have reached adulthood will be granted a title. Taking Breton, who gained inheritance rights, as an example, he could only obtain the title of Viscount from his father before Wiggins died after he reached adulthood. It is impossible for Ronin, who has lost his inheritance rights, to obtain a Viscount from Wiggins. Being able to become a Baron is already a top priority. In this era, titles were based on military achievements. It can be said that people with strong abilities may not necessarily have a title, but those with a title must have strength, except for those who inherit the title from the previous generation. What is missing in this is military achievements. Follow the nobles to fight in all directions and make great contributions. When the contributions accumulate and are recognized by the nobles, there is a possibility of obtaining a title. To achieve success in battle, individual strength is crucial, but team strength is also indispensable. Luo Ning thought to himself, it seemed that he must manage his territory well and cultivate a force of his own. As long as there is an army that can conquer and fight well, achieving military success is just around the corner. Everything, let's wait until I arrive in Shanlin town before making specific plans. With excitement and plans for the future, Luo Ning gradually fell asleep. In his dream, he saw himself riding on a warhorse, his flame-like long sword gently waving, and his thousands of soldiers and horses hissing and charging. The scene was so spectacular. But he never expected that the 9 guards arranged by Wiggins had already set their minds on him. The night passed quietly. When Luo Ning woke up, the sky was already slightly bright. He pushed the door and the commotion made Chahar, who was sitting on a stool outside the door, wake up and stand up in an instant. Good morning, sir. I'll take care of your grooming. Looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Chahar enthusiastically prepared toiletries for Luo Ning. Why are you here? Didn't I ask Hallwater to arrange accommodation for you? Chahar bowed slightly and respectfully replied, Master, there are too few servants around you. I'm afraid you won't be able to find anyone for anything tonight, so I'll be waiting here. Luo Ning is somewhat impressed. He is really a dedicated and good employee, hard work. This is my duty, sir. Chahar responded respectfully. During the time of washing up and having breakfast, Luo Ning also gained some understanding of Chahar. The father of this male servant was a professional knight. Although he died in battle many years ago, his professional knightly status gave Chahar the opportunity to enter the extraordinary academy to study. After his father's death, Chahar, who had lost his reliance, successfully entered the castle and became a servant of Wushan by learning some writing skills, aristocratic etiquette, and other specialties. Luo Ning is quite satisfied with this male servant, and when he arrives in Shanlin town, Chahar may become his good assistant. I highly appreciate your abilities. Ronin ate a piece of bread with milk. The taste of fresh milk is barely acceptable, but I'm not used to eating bread. When I was on Earth, I rarely ate bread. In the future, you can follow me and work hard. When Shanlin town develops in the future, I can guarantee that you will never be worse than Hallwater. He stood up, patted Chahar's shoulder, and drew a cake for him. Encouraged and recognized, Chahar's eyes lit up as he suddenly felt that Baron Luo Ning was not as useless as the outside world claimed. Perhaps his initiative to apply to Shanlin town this time was a good choice. It's my honor to be of service to you, Baron. 8. Betrayal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside the castle, everything for Ronin's trip is ready. In addition to food, the 6 carts carrying goods were also loaded with books, bedding, and other items. The weight distribution was just right, so it wouldn't cause a horse to be too heavy. If it weren't for the limited carrying capacity of the carriage, Luo Ning would have wanted to pack all the murals in the room and take them away. After all, they are things from Wushan, so selling them would definitely be worth some money, right? Baron, Marquis has asked you to come back and take a look when you have time. Rust's servant, the old butler of the castle, most, was coming to bid farewell on behalf of the old Marquis. Standing beside him was Hullwater, but the latter represented not Wiggins, but Diane. "I will." Ronin looked up at the magnificent castle, unsure of what would happen when he returned. After waving to the two butlers, he instructed Chahar to drive the carriage and, escorted by 9 guards, began his journey to Shanlin town. Wushan Castle was not built in Wushan City, but is located on a southwest slope, connected by Wushan Avenue to connect the castle and Wushan City. There are some estates, somewhat similar to villages, along both sides of the main road. Some of these estates belong directly to the castle and are taken care of by servants, while others are rewarded to knights, the lowest level nobles, who have made meritorious contributions. Walk 5 or 6 miles northeast along Wushan Avenue to reach Wushan City. This is a large city with a population of nearly 80,000. If we add the residents of the surrounding estates, the population of Wushan City should exceed 100,000. Because the places where his predecessor entered and exited rarely involved cities, Luo Ning really wanted to witness a city in a foreign world with his own eyes. Just as we get closer to Wushan City, the smell in the air becomes stronger. What's going on? Is there a pig farm nearby? Luo Ning instinctively thought. Quickly, he was stunned by the sight before him. At the end of Wushan Avenue, there is a wide yet winding long street, with houses of different styles scattered on both sides of the street. Most of them are one-story buildings, and there are very few two-story buildings. If we only look at these, it's just a bit outdated and dilapidated, but what Ronin can't tolerate the most is hygiene. On this dirt road, various types of feces can be seen everywhere, including thin, hard, yellow, black, small lumps, and piles. Luo Ning was fortunate enough to see an old horse stepping over a pile of manure, and was immediately flattened, making it cling tightly to the soil. This scene directly exploded Ronin's visual nerves. Is this a place where people stay? Although some of the houses in Wushan Castle are damp and dilapidated, the hygiene is still decent, at least there is no visible feces everywhere, but here. It's really hard to describe. The reason why the castle was built 5 or 6 miles away from the city is not to avoid this stench, is it? Luo Ning pinched his nose and withdrew his gaze. Chahar, why is this place so dirty? Does the castle care? Chahar, who was driving, was puzzled by this question and said, "Sir, why does the castle come to take care of the hygiene here?" Chahar's wise rhetorical question left Luo Ning unsure of how to answer for a moment. Yes, why does the castle need to manage the hygiene here? Can you get any benefits? Nobles only care about their own lives, and lords only care about their own taxes. Commoners or serfs are just tools of the aristocracy. They only need to not die, whether they live well or not, and whether the hygiene environment is dirty or clean, they do not care. Just like pig farmers, they don't care if it's inappropriate for pigs to live in pig manure. For a moment, he felt uncomfortable. What would happen to a small mountain forest town in a big city like Wushan City? Luo Ning couldn't even think about it. Hurry up and leave Wushan City, I can't stand this smell at all. As you wish, sir. Chahar waved his whip and the carriage ran faster. From the perspective of Ronin Earth, what is a big city with a population of 100,000? Not even a county has a population. However, the area of Wushan City is not small, and it took over 3 hours for the convoy to stop and walk before completely leaving the boundary of Wushan City. The further away from the city, the more uneven the road surface becomes. Luo Ning lifted the car window and found that there were already dense forests on both sides of the road, unlike before when manors and fields could still be seen. They have now arrived at the mountain road in the wilderness. Considering that the horse had been walking continuously for over an hour, Luo Ning ordered, "Chahar, stop and rest. The horse is tired, and we need to prepare lunch too." "Okay, sir." Chahar shouted and conveyed Luo Ning's instructions. 6 carriages also stopped one after another. Luo Ning walked out of the carriage and breathed in the fresh air outside, much more enjoyable than when he was in Wushan City. He looked at the distant mountain and ordered, "Let the 6 guards go to the mountain to get some grass to feed the horses, and the rest prepare lunch. Let's all eat before we go on the road." "Okay, sir." Chahar walked towards the carriage filled with miscellaneous items, ready to take down the only iron pot and cook a broth. After explaining, Luo Ning stepped into the mountains and forests. He is planning to use this opportunity to claim the reward for the first day of the 7-day login. In this way, there was an additional knight among his subordinates, and the safety of the team was also more guaranteed. Before he could take a few steps out, Chahar's exclamation came from behind. "What do you want to do?" Then I heard the sound of the iron pot falling to the ground. "What's going on?" Luo Ning turned around in shock and saw Chahar fall to the ground, his iron pot falling to the side, and the guards who were supposed to be busy pulled out their swords and walked towards him. "Is this going to rebel?" Luo Ning, who has seen big scenes in TV dramas, immediately realized what these guys wanted to do. However, he still instinctively asked, "What do you want to do? What are you doing?" The leading man had a mocking expression on his face, completely devoid of the respectful attitude he should have towards his master. "Sir, Shanlin town is too remote and barren. We don't want to go with you, so we would like to borrow some money from you to leave." "You are betraying." Chahar understood and became even more angry. "Not only did you betray the Baron, but you also betrayed the Wushan family. Aren't you afraid of death?" Not only him, but also Luo Ning did not expect these 9 elite soldiers to betray him. In this world, being able to serve the nobles in the castle is something many people dream of, and betraying the nobles usually only happens to those with strength or status. What do these people have? Luo Ning squinted his eyes and said, "Are you going to kill me?" This statement directly shocked Chahar to the point where he forgot to blame and killed the nobles. They actually want to kill the nobles. How could this be possible? How dare they? It said that the Baron is a foolish donkey. Now it seems that you're not that foolish. The leading guard showed a cruel smile and said, "If you want to blame it, you can only blame your father for not liking you and giving you so much money without choosing a loyal professional knight to protect you." After hearing these words, Luo Ning actually laughed and said, "This way, I can rest assured." Luo Ning naturally felt relieved. When he saw the guards about to kill him, he instinctively felt that it was Wigan's arrangement, and a count who was determined to want his life was a very frightening thing. However, from what these people said, it can be seen that the other party was only interested in wealth and not under the guidance of Wiggins. The dog blood plot where the father was determined to kill his son did not appear. Zhaoshuyuan.com, so he said he was relieved. But this sentence made the betrayers listen inexplicably. In their eyes, Luo Ning is about to die, so what can they rest assured of? "I think you're just being scared out of your wits and talking nonsense, right?" The backstabber lifted the long sword in his hand and said, "Brothers, kill him, and the supplies and coins on the carriage will be ours." With a shout of encouragement, both hesitant and timid guards strengthened their rebellious hearts. They roared and rushed towards Luo Ning. "Sir, be careful." Chahar didn't know where his courage came from. He pulled out his dagger and wanted to rush forward to help, but he didn't run 2 steps and fell to the ground. He wanted to stand up, but his legs couldn't help him. He is too nervous. Luo Ning is also very nervous. He has never seen such a scene in his life. But as a dual-profession superhero, he still hasn't lost his mobility due to excessive adrenaline secretion. He sneered and turned around, running towards the forest at such a speed that none of the 9 guards could react. How could he run so fast? The guards were puzzled. Didn't they say that the eldest grandson of the Marquis had been stripped of his body by alcohol and lust, and was very weak? The speed that just erupted is far beyond their comparison. At this moment, he felt a bit uneasy in his heart. But since it has already been showcased, there is no way back. Today, Luo Ning must die. Kill Ronin. The betrayer exerted all his strength and roared as he rushed into the mountains and forests. Suddenly, a burst of light erupted from the mountain, and a calm and loud voice sounded. Hello to you, my master. 9. Anti-killing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a few breaths, Luo Ning was the first to enter the roadside forest. He immediately summoned the 7-day login interface and claimed the reward for the first day, taking advantage of the trees and small slopes blocking his view. Countless beams of light suddenly rose on the ground in front of him, and this scene was as intoxicating as the Tyndar effect formed by the illumination of light. These light pillars outline a complex, obscure, and mysterious summoning array on the ground, emitting a faint aura. A strong wind swept through, and a figure slowly emerged from the pillar of light. This man is as majestic as a mountain, with a broad chest and powerful arms beneath his simple leather armor. His expression is resolute and calm, and he won't change color even in a storm. Hello to you, my master. With a loud voice and respectful attitude, the man summoned through the magic circle struck his left chest heavily with his right hand and performed a standard knightly salute to Ronin. Nice to meet you, McCann, but our situation is not very good now. As soon as Luo Ning finished speaking, the group of backstabbing guards had already caught up. They looked at the unfamiliar blonde man in front of them in surprise, wondering why someone appeared in the mountains and forests in less than 10 seconds. Who are you? The leader of the backstabber looked warily at McCann, and his unease grew stronger in his heart. McCann had already sensed the intentions of these people. He flipped his left hand, grabbed the shield, and pulled out his long sword from his waist. Those who try to harm their master, step over my body first. Ronin, standing one step behind McCann, stared at the other person and noticed a small attribute panel appearing on their side. The content was extremely simple. Mackenzie Saliaton. Junior Knight, Earth, 0 out of 100, plus it is obvious that Ronin can add some energy and soul to McCann. To ensure that there were no accidents in this battle, he consumed all his energy and soul without much thought. Mackenzie Saliaton. Junior Knight, 0 out of 100, 60 out of 100, McCann was stunned for a moment, feeling that his strength had greatly increased in an instant. The fighting seed in his heart seemed to have come alive, beating very vigorously. He couldn't help but look back at Luo Ning, and he was certain that such an improvement was definitely made by his master. Just as he turned around, the betrayers seized the opportunity. Kill. Ronin drew his sword and shouted, McCann, deal with these traitors. I, master. McCann stepped out with one step, and with tremendous explosive force, the soil on the ground was splattered away. His figure was incredibly fast. These betrayed guards are all ordinary people. At most, they catch thieves and beat ordinary people. Have they ever fought against professional knights? And McCann was not only a knight, but also a knight with innate combat instincts. In front of him, these traitors were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Puff. The long sword pierced through the chest of the fastest charging backstabber, instantly solving one person. As McCann drew his sword, he dodged the incoming blade with his agile footwork. In the moment he dodged, he kicked out the two people who were rushing forward, flying them away. One round of charge shattered the momentum of the betrayers. Before they could react, McCann had already drawn his long sword, sprinted and swept, and cut open the throats of two betrayers. The bloody smell spread through the forest with the wind. Ronin thought he was going to help too, but he didn't expect the Macon Knight to be so fierce, instantly killing 3 and kicking down 2. The deaths of 3 betrayers allowed the remaining to break through their defenses, and the fear of betraying nobles and knights reignited in their minds. They had already forgotten about any escape or resistance, and all they could think of was throwing away their long sword and kneeling on the ground like a dog, begging for mercy from Ronin. Please spare your life, sir. Please spare your life, sir. The courage of betrayal just now vanished instantly. Ronin sneered and ignored the betrayers, giving a thumbs up to McCann. Knight McCann, your abilities have really broadened my horizons. The betrayers who heard this turned pale as earth. Indeed, this cruel person is indeed a knight. They suddenly felt very ridiculous, naive enough to think that the Baron had no knights to defend him. All of this is your gift, master. McCann stood aside, not continuing the slaughter. Sir, how are you, sir? The male servant Chahar stumbled into the forest, but did not expect such a scene. Chahar, I have seen your loyalty, you have performed well. Although Chahar did not help much, in the desperate situation just now, this servant did not betray himself and even wanted to rush forward to help. Based on this loyalty, Luo Ning must give the other party a thumbs up. He walked slowly to the traitor in front of him, holding a long sword, and watched as he knelt on the ground begging for mercy. His eyes were filled with coldness. Did you incite and plan this betrayal? What gave you the courage to betray? Said Luo Ning with a furrowed brow and a cold voice. The person dared not look up and trembled with fear. Big, sir, I didn't expect there to be a knight riding next to you. Oh, if you knew there were knights around, you wouldn't have betrayed them, would you? Ronin said in a mocking long tone, please spare my life, sir. I dare not again. There's actually one thing you may not know yet. Luo Ning's voice couldn't distinguish between joy and anger. What? The traitor kneeling couldn't help but lift his head. From his perspective, Luo Ning was unprecedentedly tall, suffocating him. Actually, I am also a knight. Even without McCann, you are still not my opponents. The sharp sword pierced through the opponent's chest from top to bottom, making the betrayer's eyes wide open. Perhaps he didn't expect to die. Luo Ning is still hesitant about killing people. On the one hand, his predecessor never killed anyone, and this is especially true for him who has traveled through time. Zhaoshuyuan.com. But when you come to a different world, as a lord, sometimes you have to make a choice. If he had nothing, it would be him who died today, and the enemy would not be merciful. Watching the other person fall into a pool of blood and lose his breath, Luo Ning's mood fluctuated violently. After all, this was the first time. But soon, amidst nervousness and unease, there was even more joy, just because there was a line of text jumping in my sight. The achievement of King of Slaughter has been achieved, with attribute points +10 in energy and soul +20. The content of the achievement of the King of Slaughter is to have him kill any unit, and the betrayer is an ordinary person, naturally also among them. He glanced at the achievement panel and saw that the achievements of the King of Slaughter had been updated. King of Slaughter. Kill any level 1 extraordinary unit alone, reward. Attribute points +30, energy and soul +60. The achievement is indeed of an advanced nature, just like when I designed the game system. The first level extraordinary units refer to junior knights, junior mages, and first level monsters. It is still a bit difficult for Ronin to achieve this achievement. Although he also has a level 1 superhero level, he lacks practical experience. The words I just said to the betrayer, without McCann, he could kill back, actually have a bragging effect. If he really had to take action, even if he didn't die, he would still be seriously injured. It's impossible for him to instantly scare the enemy like McCann did. He needs to hone his combat skills well when he has time. Now with McCann, he actually has a teacher. Master, the rest of us don't need you to take action, let me handle it. McCann volunteered. Luo Ning raised his eyebrows and looked at the remaining 5 trembling, elite soldiers kneeling on the ground. 10. Urgent problems to be solved. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although some of the remaining 5 guards are blind followers, the seeds of betrayal have been planted and sprouted once. Although it was cut off by Luo Ning in time, who can guarantee that there won't be a second time? So for traitors, try not to use them as much as possible. Can we just kill like this? Luo Ning frowned slightly and killed these 5 people. Who will drive the car? We can't expect Chahar to drive 5 carriages alone. The other party doesn't have clone skills, so they can't do it. After thinking for a while, Luo Ning said, since you have realized your mistake, as a kind lord, I can spare you once. This sentence was like a bucket of fine wine that captivated the guards, their pleading voice turning into an excited gratitude and an oath of never betraying. For this oath, Luo Ning could just listen and say, now I command you to pick up your sword and get enough grass for the horse. Yes, yes, sir, let's go now. The guards kneeling on the ground spoke while hastily picking up weapons and throwing themselves into the lawn mowing operation. Now, they are afraid of slowing down and making the old man angry. Ronin withdrew his gaze from this group of people. With the presence of the knight McCann, they dared not escape even if no one was watching over them. These people no longer have the courage to gamble on whether they can escape from the hands of professional knights. Master, will you just let them go like this? Chahar was indignant on the side. As a guard of the Wushan family, he dared not even think about assassinating his master. What he couldn't understand even more was that the Baron had let them go. Kill them all, can you drive 5 carriages alone? Luo Ning asked with a smile. Ah. Chahar was stunned. He scratched his head and thought of everything in his mind, maybe we can tie the carriage back and forth with a rope. After speaking, he shrugged and pulled his head, but we don't have that long rope. Let's keep their lives for now. Luo Ning said, Chahar, go pack up the weapons and belongings of the dead, don't waste them. The guards use inferior iron swords, although they may not sell for much money due to poor quality, at least they are iron swords. It's a pity to lose them. Good sir. Chahar endured the discomfort caused by dizziness while tidying up his iron sword and searching for the body. The Baron said we can't waste it. How many copper coins should there be on these guards? McCann, come with me. Ronin called out and took the Macon knight back to the main road. 6 carriages and a fine horse were all grazing on the roadside without getting lost. McCann, tell me your story. McCann, who followed Ronin 2 steps behind, seemed like a loyal guard. When he heard his master's question, he was somewhat puzzled and said, Master, what do you mean by the story you're telling? Just like them, call me Lord or Master. The title, Master, is only used in specific artistic conception and occasions, and although McCann can understand it, it is somewhat abrupt. I would like to hear about your experiences, such as where your home is, your life experiences, and so on. Luo Ning explained, this way, I will get to know you better. McCann fell silent, obviously thinking about how to answer the question, but soon he shook his head. Sir, I only know that you are my master, and I will always be loyal to you. As for where my hometown is and life experiences, I have no relevant memories in my mind. Luo Ning was stunned for a moment, then nodded slowly and said, oh, that's it. He could feel the contractual relationship between himself and McCann, which should be the master-servant contract signed with Warcraft, where the master dies and the servant cannot live. Don't you have any memory at all? I feel like your combat experience shouldn't be low. When fighting, I seem to have an indescribable intuition, McCann explained. Oh, by the way, I don't have no memory at all. At least I know how to write, communicate, and perform combat actions on a daily basis. Ronin roughly understood. The characters summoned from the 7-day login reward are flesh and blood, but they seem to be newborn characters. Apart from having strength and some basic knowledge, the rest are like a blank sheet of paper. Welcome to join, Mackenzie Saliaton. Luo Ning's tone was very formal, from today on, you have been my guard, responsible for protecting my safety. At the same time, you are also my instructor and trainer, helping me improve my combat experience. McCann knelt on one knee and placed his right hand on his left chest. I'm willing to serve you, sir. You don't need such a big gift on a regular basis. Ronin helped the opponent up and checked the long sword, shield, and leather armor of the Macon knight. These 3 items appeared together with the summoning, and their quality is at least several levels higher than the inferior iron swords used by the guards. In this way, he doesn't have to spend money to buy a set of equipment for McCann anymore. According to his understanding of the world's prices, each knight sword used by knights costs at least 5 gold coins, along with shields and armor, and a set costs about 20 gold coins. Luo Ning only had less than 180 gold coins all over his body, spending 1/9 of it all at once, which was a considerable expense. Thinking that he still needed to save money to buy 6 magic crystals to receive the first recharge reward, he couldn't help but sigh. It's so much money that I hate using a prescription too little. Now that he has gained independence from Wushan, it is not feasible for him to rely on playing emotional cards to obtain financial and resource support from the Lullans and others. If you want to make money, you have to think of other ways. Sir. McCann's voice pulled Ronin's thoughts back. Sir, during the previous battle, I suddenly felt that my strength had increased. What exactly is going on? This question has been lingering in his heart for a long time, but he can't help but ask it out. This is a secret between us, remember to keep it a secret. Luo Ning smiled mysteriously and said, I can enhance your strength, just like now. As he spoke, he used the 20 energy and soul points he had just obtained from completing the achievement of King of Slaughter on McCann, increasing his knight level progress from 60 to 80. With just 20 more points of energy and soul, McCann can advance to intermediate knights. Intermediate knights can unleash their fighting spirit, and their combat power is several levels higher than that of junior knights. At that time, Ronin's safety can be better guaranteed. Of course, one must be a senior knight to hold on to a territory. Only senior knights have the possibility of accumulating enough merit to be conferred the title of noble knights. From Wushan City to Shanlin Town, Luo Ning is estimated to take 8 to 9 days to walk, and by the time he reaches his territory, McCann will definitely have an intermediate level. Sir, I have become stronger again. McCann felt the sudden increase in power, with an incredulous expression on his face. He was also more and more certain in his heart that a master with this ability was definitely extraordinary. Adapt to this power, that horse is now yours. Luo Ning pointed to the black steed without a cart and said, This is a high-quality warhorse and the best horse I currently have. I hope you can use it well and not disappoint my expectations. Knights all love war horses, and they all love war horses. Thinking about Guan Yunchang, who had a seal of gold in the 3 kingdoms, he didn't ask for anything but only received the red rabbit horse, which shows his love for good horses. McCann is no exception. He looked straight at the dark horse and said, Thank you very much for your grace. Luo Ning couldn't help but laugh as he watched the guard excitedly communicate with the horse. High-quality warhorses are sold for hundreds of gold, making them a great asset for Ronin, but there shouldn't be many opportunities for him to charge them. It would be a good choice to reward it to the guard McCann. And to take a step back, McCann won't abandon him. If Ronin really wants to use the dark horse, he can do it any time. He withdrew his gaze and began to seriously contemplate the betrayal incident. After arriving in this world, Ronin thought that the servants here would not easily betray the nobles. But after experiencing this betrayal incident, he understood that no matter in which world it is the same, as long as there are enough interests and possibilities, those ambitious people will take risks. Whether it is nobles, commoners, or serfs, they all have ambitions, but the probability of the latter two engaging in a conflict with their lord is slightly lower. By analogy, Luo Ning thought of Shanlin Town. Will the lords there welcome him as their lord? No, more precisely, will the local snakes there welcome him as the lord? You should know that there have been no lords willing to go to Shanlin Town for over a decade, and the family has only arranged for a government official to maintain the annual tax revenue. Will this government official treat Shanlin Town as his own territory if he stays there for a long time? It's still possible. Although Ronin had not personally experienced it, he had heard of similar things when he was on Earth. For example, A nanny who has been working in a certain household for several years subconsciously sees herself as the owner of the household and then gives orders to the employer. Who can guarantee that this government official is not such a nanny? Luo Ning has a bad plan. If the local snakes in Shanlin town don't welcome him, and the other party has lived in that remote and impoverished area for many years, there will definitely be a team of people. So he needs to consider the number of troops and the level of combat of the opponent. He is not afraid of any powerful knights over there. Any intermediate or advanced knight would not choose to be trapped in a mountain forest town without a lord, where there is no future. Ronin is just worried about the large number of people on the other side. I still have too few people under my command. Even with the reward of the 7th day login for the light mage, Ronin only has 3 trusted individuals under him, McCann and Chahar. We must find a way to solve this problem.